Hey guys, it's Kayla and I'm back with another video. Today we are going to be talking about what it's like being a social media manager and my 1-year review of working full-time. I started my full-time job at post-grad about a year and a month ago, so we're a little bit late, but I still wanted to sit down and chat about it. I get questions all the time about being a social media manager and my job, so I'm going to sit down and answer some of those questions today. First, I wanted to sit down and just give a general overview of my job and what I do at my job for those of you who are new or might not really know what I do. So I do work as a full-time social media manager at a small PR agency. My company is remote, so I have worked remotely, worked from home the entire time I've had this job, even pre-COVID, and that is something that I really enjoy about my job. Some other details about my job: we are a pretty small team. There's just a handful of us, and I work very closely with my account managers and the other social media manager. And to explain kind of the difference between those two roles, an account manager focuses more on the PR aspect and works kind of more closely with the client, and then the social media manager obviously handles more of the social media and the engagement. A lot of the time in my work vlogs I say I'm doing engagement. I don't always explain what that is, so just a little bit of an overview of that. Engagement is just social media engagement, and that is responding to comments, commenting on other posts, liking posts, and just engaging within the account and with other accounts. Obviously this is mainly on Instagram. That is where most of our clients post and engage with, but it also includes Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest. All of the social media platforms have some form of engagement or posting that I need to keep up with. Some other tasks I'm in charge of are Facebook and LinkedIn scheduling for my clients. I schedule all my clients out on Tailwind and Pinterest and make sure they're pinning regularly. I also help with Instagram captions for several of my clients. I work on blog posts. I help with the Facebook and Instagram ads. Those are all of my main tasks, but there are definitely other things that I hop in and help with, but those are kind of my main jobs, main responsibilities as a social media manager. Something important to note is that no social media manager's job and responsibilities is going to look the same. Someone at an agency might have very different responsibilities from someone working in-house, and just the types of accounts they're working on and everything like that. I mainly work on wedding and real estate accounts, so my job might look totally different than someone who's working for a lawyer or a doctor. It always depends just on your company, your agency, whatever it is you're doing. That's definitely a brief overview of my job and my job description, so if you have any other questions you can definitely leave those down below. I'm always answering your guys' question about being a social media manager and what it's like, but I do have some questions that you guys asked today that I'm going to go through. The first question is, how did you get into social media management? Something I definitely want to highlight here is that I work at an agency and I am not a freelance social media manager. I definitely get a lot of questions about how do you get started with getting clients and things like that, but that is not something I do since I work at an agency, and that is part of why I work at an agency and I'm not a freelancer, because I don't really want to take on that responsibility yet for myself. Eventually I will probably move into freelancing, but for now I really like not having to be in charge of that and not having to work to find my own clients. I just show up remotely to work and work on my tasks, and that's it, and I can kind of turn off the work mode for the most part at the end of the day. And definitely having that distinctive balance between the two really helps for me, being able to manage being a content creator, having a small business, having a podcast. I don't think I would be able to take on as many extra side projects if I was a freelancer and had to kind of work on that myself. And now for how I got into social media management myself. So I was always kind of interested in social media. At least in middle school I really fell in love with YouTube, and that just kind of sparked my interest overall. So I majored in public relations. I majored in journalism and media studies with an emphasis in public relations, because that was kind of the closest equivalent at my school. A lot of schools don't really have a social media management major or a social media major unless you go to like FIDM or a more art school, but for the most part you kind of have to major in journalism, communications, public relations, and apply that. It's definitely important to get internships. Since my major was PR, I really knew it was on me to get experience in social media, so I had a lot of internships, a lot of extracurricular experience in social media, so that definitely helped me. For my specific role, I applied on an Indeed. I applied to a lot of jobs on Indeed, both locally and remotely. I also applied to some on LinkedIn, but it was mostly Indeed, and that was how I found my job. I put in a random application and got a call back, and I had a few rounds of phone interviews, and then I got my job. So I wish I could kind of give more advice and tips, but really you just need to put yourself out there and apply to anything and everything. But be careful with Indeed. You definitely have to kind of skim through and really weigh, like, is this a scam or not? I can tell you that you can get a real legit job from Indeed and in social media, but it definitely takes some combing through. The next question is, how many clients do you work with at a time? This definitely varies throughout the year and throughout the time I've been working there. It kind of goes up and down. Sometimes a client or two drops off. Sometimes we get 3 new clients at a time. We've just recently signed on 3 new clients. So it definitely varies, but I would say this year I really kind of hovered around 10 clients. Currently I have 11 accounts that I am in charge of, but when I say 11 accounts, I am not the only person working on these accounts. A lot of our clients are team accounts where we are all working on some aspect or piece of it, or it's just a partner account where me and an account manager are working on it together. That's kind of how a majority of my clients are. It's just me and one of my 2 account managers. I work with 2 different ones, and we just team up with those accounts, and they're in charge of the PR, the submissions, and kind of more client communication, and I'm in charge of social media and engagement. The next question I got is, what's the hardest part of your job? This is not something I think I realized until recently. I was doing an informational interview with someone for a class project, and if you ever need to interview someone, you can hit me up on Instagram. I will try my best to get back to everyone because I always had to do those projects in college, so I'm totally understanding and will help you out when needed. But when talking to Destiny, I realized that my job is a lot of small tasks that I just have to stay on top of and stay organized around. It's really on me to make sure all these things are getting done, and I don't know if that's because I work at an agency or if I work remote or if it's just being a social media manager, but there are always little things here and there that need to get done, and it's really on me to stay organized, stay on top of, and that is also something I love about the job. I really love that there's always things to do. It's always interesting. I never find myself getting bored, but it can also just be a lot to manage at times, and it's really on me to remember to get all these things done, and if I drop the ball, then that's on me, and it's really kind of apparent and obvious. There's no one to hide behind, so I just always have to make sure I have a strong to-do list with all of my things on it, and I'm staying on top of all my work. That kind of goes into the next question, which is, does your job ever get repetitive or boring? I would say it does get repetitive at times. Like I said, there's a lot of small things that kind of just happen all the time that I need to stay on top of, and I would say it does get repetitive, but I never ever find it boring. With so many different tasks and responsibilities, there's always something different I can be working on. If one day I really don't feel like Facebook scheduling, I probably don't need to because I'm always really ahead on my clients, so I can work on a blog post. Or if I really don't feel like working on a blog post, I can work on captions. So there's always something I could be working on, and I can kind of switch around what I'm doing if I'm ahead, which I always try and be ahead because that helps me so much. So if I'm really ahead on my work, I can really choose what I get to work on, which is really nice, and I really like that aspect of it. I have to do engagement every single day, which does get a little repetitive at times, but me and the other social media manager really have been trying to tag team it recently and work on it together, and that has really helped with making it less repetitive, and it's just a lot easier to get done. My friend Liv asked if I ever wish I could go into an office and work. Definitely not. I absolutely love working remotely, working from home. I would say I wish I could go back to working at coffee shops. Before COVID hit, I would go to Starbucks a few times a week and work, and that definitely helped switch it up and keep me from going crazy in my house. But since COVID, it has been harder to just kind of stay focused and motivated because I live and work and do everything in this room, basically in this house. I definitely don't wish I worked in an office, but I do wish that I could just work in more than my house, if that makes sense. I'm gonna read these next 2 questions because I want to make sure I get them right, and I'm gonna talk about how I find these are connected. So the 2 questions are, has this job helped with your personal accounts, and how do you come up with new ways to innovate? The reason I think these questions are really connected is that I think my personal accounts help me manage my clients' accounts better, and I think my clients' accounts can also help me with my personal accounts. As a social media manager, it's really important to stay up on any social media trends and just what's going on all the platforms, especially every single platform has had algorithm updates in the last month or so, or app changes. So it's really important to stay on top of all of that. And I think if I was just managing my clients' accounts, I would miss up on a lot of those account changes, those algorithm changes. I can definitely play around with my personal accounts more and just do whatever I want with them. And so that might mean I find something new or try out something new, or I'm following someone on my personal account that does something really cool that could be helpful for my clients' accounts. I really just try and follow social media experts and follow what they're saying. There are just always so many different platform changes and updates that it's almost impossible to stay on top of it all yourself, so it's good to follow other experts, especially people who specialize in just one specific platform. I follow Elle Duclos, I think that's how you say her name. Her account is Boss Girl Bloggers, and she's always sharing Pinterest tips, and she specializes in Pinterest. So I always find new things about Pinterest because I follow her specifically, and it's just super important to follow different people like that on different platforms, because as a social media manager, I'm just always doing way too much and it's impossible to stay on top of it all myself. That leads into the next question too. All of these questions really overlap and kind of connect to each other, but someone asked, what are your tips for growing a brand? I think the biggest thing across all social media platforms is to use every available service. This is really, really important on Instagram. You can't just post on Instagram to your feed one photo and expect it to do well. You want to use everything that Instagram is offering. You want to use stories. Reels are so important right now. They want to compete with TikTok, so they're really pushing that. You want to post videos. You want to post carousel photos. You don't want to just do one thing and one basic thing on Instagram. You want to try and do it all, and I think that's the same with Pinterest right now. They're pushing video pins and story pins, so you really just have to stay up to date with what's going on and try the new things. Maybe it doesn't work out for your account and maybe it doesn't push it as much as you would like, but you need to at least give it a try. And the last question I'm going to be answering today is, do you want to continue with this job and what's next? I definitely want to continue my job. I absolutely love it. And is everything perfect about it? No, but I don't think any job is. I really love what I'm doing. I love all of my clients. It's never boring. There's always something to do. There's always something interesting to go on about, and I really like my coworkers. It's super fun to work with them. Even though we are remote and not in person, I still have such good connections with them, and I really love that aspect of it as well. As for what's next, like I said, I absolutely love my job and don't plan on going anywhere. And I mentioned it earlier, but having a set 9 to 5 that I work at really helps me focus all my other time and energy on my YouTube. If I ever did something else, it would probably be freelancing, and that just wouldn't give me as much time to work on my own things. Like, you would think it would give you more time, but really I would have to put so much energy and effort into finding my own clients and making it the best thing possible. But at my job now, I don't have to focus on gaining new clients or anything. That's not my responsibility. Do I help with that and try and do what I can for it? Yes, but it is not my sole responsibility to get us new business, if that makes sense. And if I freelance or did anything else, it would be more on me. So for right now, I absolutely love my job, not going anywhere, and maybe one day we will work for ourselves and do our own thing. But for right now, I'm really happy with where I'm at and my balance. That is everything I'm going to be talking about today, all the questions I have about what it's like being a social media manager. If you have any other questions, leave them down below. I'm always more than happy to talk about what my job is like. I love all the work week vlogs and post-grad life. It's so much fun being able to share this part of my life with you guys. Of course, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave any comments down below, and subscribe to my channel if you are new. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next one.